Well, can I really call myself a prog aficionado if this is the first time I've heard about the band? Let's see what these boys have to offer. Tiara by Seventh Wonder. So Seventh Wonder, I guess, is like a really prominent progressive metal band, but as I said at the beginning, I've never heard of these guys before. And part of it could be the 8-year hiatus that they've had between 2010 and now. The lead vocalist of Tommy Karenvek, he's done a lot of work with Arion and Arjun Lucasin within his side projects. So as I was listening to this album, I kept getting the flashbacks of those because I was thinking, okay, that's where I know this voice from. And Tommy has a soaring metal vocals. Every line that he delivers does it with the right amount of emotion. He never like overplays himself. He never goes right within the cheese. He always gives enough of a performance to fully solidify the music that's surrounding it. And the lead guitarist and keyboardist here, Jonathan Leifendal and Andrea, oh boy. Yeah, the guitarist and the keyboardist on this. Just to let you guys know, these guys are from Sweden, so half of these last names I couldn't pronounce my way out of a paper bag for. But both of these guys do a fantastic job of, again, writing, producing, and playing brilliant progressive metal music. And that's probably the extent of the praise I can give this album outside of the concept. It is a concept album of, you know, us finding other life forms out there and trying to integrate it into our own life and us going out there. And that's a big sci-fi concept album that only a progressive metal band can offer. Here's the thing about Tiara. I always want to call it Tiara, but it's Tiara, like the thing that you wear, like the crown. Here's the thing about Tiara. It's about 10 years late. In my mind, like, it is the stereotypical idea of progressive metal music. It follows very similarly to all the surrounding progressive metal acts. Like, I don't want to even say it's quite like a paint by numbers, but there's nothing that surprised me within this album. It was very, very predictable, and like everything just kind of fell right into place as it was meant to be. Like, there wasn't anything that really stood out for me. There wasn't anything that really blew me away. There was one moment, though, within Beyond Today, Farewell Part 3, that made me stop and praise the band. And it's within the lyrical content. Now, I don't know if it's a character that he's portraying or if it really is this lead protagonist that's saying, I hope that I feel those butterflies like I do within the movies. His hand reaching out for mine. And that made me stop. I'm like, his hand reaching out. And again, at this point, I wasn't quite following the whole narrative storyline, so I don't know if this was from a different character standpoint, but this was probably the first time in my recollection where this narrative was coming to the forefront, where the male vocalist was saying, I hope that I could see him again. I'm hoping that I can feel that love for him. I'm hoping that I can feel his hand in mine. And I'm like, all right, we're finally getting something. This is something that I can genuinely get behind within the band. They're trying something new that honestly is well overdue within some kind of a concept album. I'm probably also looking into it a little too much because I'm always looking for that kind of stuff, being like, I'm hungry for that. I desperately want it. Please. That 3-piece suite, by the way, the Farewell, Part 1, 2, and 3, that's probably the highlight for me. That's really where I really got myself into the music. Tiara's song, Good Night, and Beyond Today, they follow suit in a really like 1, 2, 3 punch. Each of these tracks are stellar. Each one brings a new dimension to the band. Tiara's song is very like emotive, very hard hitting, taking on that much more powerful song. Good Night is kind of the blending of the two styles, because Beyond Today is very emotive, but much more in a melancholy, much more in a melodramatic, much more of a gushing of emotion. It's a little bit more subdued. It's not quite as powerful in terms of like a energy level. And so yeah, Good Night is like a good kind of transition piece between the two. I just wish that they flowed right into one another, creating like a 24-minute suite of continuous music, as opposed to it being like chopped up in really bite-sized chunks. Now, the 5 songs that precede this goes through the major ebb and flow of a progressive metal that we've come to expect. Like, I'm listening to these guys and I'm getting like Symphony X, Dream Theater, Arion, like all of the big progressive metal acts of yesteryear, actually. As I said, this album is about 10 years too late for me. I feel like the progressive metal scene has moved on since then. We're no longer looking at Symphony X or Dream Theater as being the standards of progressive metal anymore. We're looking now towards the Hakens, the Leproses, the Bent Knees. Like, these are now the torchbearers of the progressive metal movement. And with Tiara being so like flag planting in the older, like second generation progressive metal, I couldn't find myself getting all that excited for the music that's found on it. Even though the music is a good time, like I never found myself bored, I never found myself wandering. I did feel myself getting tapped out only because it is a little bit too predictable, and so that was a little bit of a drawback. But I mean, overall, it's still a fine album, and the last little bit is fine. Like the ending song of Exhale does a great way of closing the album off. I like the little hook that we have within it leading us through, and it is like a solidifying end to the story as well, so that gets a good praise in that sense. And also the actual structure of the album, right? We have 5 songs, then we have the 3 mid tracks, and then we have the remaining 5 songs. And I like how they structured the album. It provides a really great sit down listen, and yeah, overall it was a fun time, but it's probably an album that I'm not going to be coming back to, or even looking back to quite fondly, outside of that Beyond Today part, Farewell Part 3. So overall, this isn't one that I would skip if you're a fan of the progressive metal movement of yesteryear. Like, if you are cursing the day that Haken released The Mountain, or you're like really craving for that Symphony X next album, this is one I would suggest checking out. I would give it a stream. This is a streamable album. It's one that I would listen to and recommend if you're into this kind of music. But if you're also like me and you're always looking for something new, a new take on the genre, something that moves the music forward, I wouldn't waste my time with this one, honestly. But, I mean, it's still a great time, and I recommend it for those that like this style of music. So, that's about it for Tiara from Seventh Wonder. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? How does it compare to their other albums as well? I see that the other albums were released during the heyday of this style of progressive metal, so let me know how it stacks up to those ones. Let me know of your own thoughts by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.
Just like in the movies, will he put his